Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, first IT job they never wanted to spend money on anything. There's no way this system will still be running in a decade, we don't need offboarding. You just type the XML into Word, right? I used Google before calling. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. First IT job they never wanted to spend money on anything. So, my first non-internship IT role was the sole actual IT person for a small community clinic. The layout was like this: main building had a 10 Mbps/5 Mbps connection. Office building had a dedicated fiber run from it to the main clinic building. Small satellite clinic had a dedicated T1 to the main clinic. One domain controller on the entire system. 1. It was a pizza box system because VMware was new and expensive, not really that expensive, but that's what they kept telling me. Server 2003 or 2008 was a new thing at the time. This was right about the time Windows Server 2000 SP4 went EOL. The issue? Slow login times at the satellite clinic. 5 people worked in that clinic, and every morning, at logon, it would take the users anywhere from 15-30 minutes to successfully log on to their systems. Continually received help desk tickets on the issue. Every time I went to test with the user who submitted the ticket, login time was long, but not 15 minutes, more like 5. Finally, I got fed up with it, and I put an old desktop computer in between the router and the switch at the remote clinic, running Wireshark. Surely there was something amiss here. Next morning, come in and check the logs. Well, that's weird. Why is SMB pushing a ton of traffic when they log on? Check the domain controller, well, that'd do it. Roaming profiles. Every morning, those users would log in at the same time and try to push massive amounts of user documents across that 1.5 megabits per second T1. Every morning, those users would call help desk, it's taking forever to log in. And every morning, I would work with a user, and the login time would be far less, because the system wasn't powered off, and therefore the profile would stay cached. Alright, go to my boss, who's the director of finance. Me, hey, boss, I figured out why they take forever to log in every morning. Boss, yeah? What's that? M, they're using roaming profiles. B, what's that? M, Psy proceeds to explain roaming profiles in as close to an orange crayon method as I can. B, okay, so what's the fix? M, we either disable roaming profiles, or they need a local domain controller. We should have 2 anyway, just in case something goes awry with one or the other. B, we don't have money for that, and we can't disable their profiles being backed up to the server. What else you got? M, a lot of unhappy users, that's what we've got. I'll explain what's wrong to them, and then you can explain why we can't fix it. B, can't you just do it? You're the IT guy. M, sure, but I'm going to tell them who told me we couldn't fix it. Next step, go to her boss, the clinic director. That conversation goes as well as the previous one. Same response, no money, and we can't change settings. Okay, so back to the drawing board. Go to our boneyard, a room in the basement of the office building where we store old, washed up PCs before they get recycled. Find an old PC with a halfway usable processor. It's an AMD Athlon XP 3200. BioWare motherboard with 4 memory slots. Managed to dig up 4 2GB DDR DIMMs, yes, they were old then. Ancient now. Dig around and find 4 250GB 5200 RPM 3.5 hard drives. Motherboard has SATA on it, and a built-in RAID controller, Lifesaver. Set up the 4 drives in RAID 5. Continue digging, trying to find a Server 2003 license. Unable to locate. Find Server 2000 SP4. Screw it. Install that. Promote to DC, replicate remote users' profiles to it, change their targets. Take the server to the remote site, install it. Call from that site the next day. User, oh wow. You fixed it. It took almost no time to log in today. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Let us know if you have any more issues with it, okay? You will do. Call boss. I fixed the satellite office. B. How? Using old equipment that should have been recycled years ago. It's a band-aid fix. We need to have a new server in the budget, period. B. I'll forward your request on to Big Boss. Budget time rolls around, no server. Justification? It's working now, so why do we need it? Left that place within a month after that. DR, small community clinic had massive login problems, and refused to allocate any legitimate resources to fix. It might still be running this way, I am not sure. There's no way this system will still be running in a decade, we don't need offboarding. When you're dealing with systems that haven't had proper support for years, you're inevitably going to run into landmines. My boss has been away on sick leave for a while, and it was just extended further. As such, I delegated his approval tasks to myself so we could get the low-impact stuff moving. Part of that was approving people for access to this ancient ordering system. I approve the 30 pending requests and go on with my day. Today, I wake up to a few messages from the new people. No license available. Wait, what? Oh right. We're limited to 4,000 licenses. There is no way we have 4,000 active users. After digging up the database info, it turns out that we have licensed users that last logged on in 2011. Is there any automated method of cleaning out licenses for off-boarded users? No. Is there any manual way that I can trigger? No. Did anyone at any point create some way of handling user licenses? Adding/removing licenses in bulk? Anything at all? No. Oh, and is there a test or dev environment for the system? Also no. After double-checking that I still have the email from my boss giving me full authority to do whatever I deem necessary with this outdated system, and absolving me from any consequences if it breaks due to the lack of training in the system, I get to work. SQL update. All users with a license that have not started a session since January 1, 2020, remove license. 2912 records updated. 1088 users still have a license. Every user I know has logged on recently still has a license. Service desk informed. No issues should arise, but if they do, I'm to blame. Postmortem sent to my boss and Scrum Master. Sweating gradually decreasing. The system didn't explode. Another day saved. You just type the XML into Word, right? I used to work for a company that aggregated and distributed mobile content. I managed the support team for the content submission interfaces. We had a manual web interface, which almost no one used because it was one title at a time. And for a provider with hundreds or thousands of titles, it simply wasn't an option. Most people used the XML interface. But this meant a lot of otherwise non-technical people attempting to write XML. A typical support request was to get some XML, debug a big of tag or structure stuff, and help the provider resubmit. One day we got a frantic screaming phone call from a submission specialist at a large company. His XML was perfect and he's been getting rejections for hours. So we calm him down and get him to email his XML. 10 minutes later we get an email with an MS Word document full of XML. To his credit, his coding was perfect. He had followed our schema down to the last detail. Which was especially impressive given that he was using Word and not an editor. So of course we asked how he was submitting it, as the interface allowed either a direct file submission or a URL to the XML feed. You just put the XML in the Word document and upload it, right? Fortunately, this was a quick fix and their submission was in an hour later. I used Google before calling. I do phone support and most callers don't bother with any sort of troubleshooting before calling in until today. I do my greeting and get. I hate to call you for something this simple. I used Google to find the fix, but it's not working. Insert surprised Pikachu face here. I verified that the user did in fact try the correct fix for Outlook not showing new message notification by the clock, and that all the settings were correct. Using my Google foo, I found a more detailed fix for the issue, put Outlook in cache mode, and everything is back to normal. Now if we can just get them to reboot before calling.